New at 11 tonight. As Democrats are taking a victory lap for the sweeping Inflation Reduction Act today, Republicans, including Maine Senator Susan Collins, are quick to criticize. An event at the White House today coming as a new inflation report shows a not so promising outlook. News CENTER Maine's Zach Blanchard has more from Washington.
Well, that report out shows inflation cooling only slightly in the month of August. President Biden and Democrats are celebrating a win. And it matters because this has been a key political sticking point for Republicans, including in the race for Maine's 2nd District congressional seat.
Decades to come.
It's being touted as the largest investment in climate change in U.S. history.
With this law, the American people won and special interests lost.
President Joe Biden celebrating the Inflation Reduction Act that brings billions in new social spending and aims to cut greenhouse gas emissions by half in the next decade.
This law is going to make a big difference for middle class and working class families. Finally, giving them a little bit, as my dad would say again, breathing room.
All of Maine's congressional delegation backed the legislation, except for Senator Susan Collins.
Economic studies are very clear.
Like most Republicans, Collins says the $430 billion price tag is simply too high, and people need help now.
This bill, despite its name, is going to have no or an insignificant impact on inflation over the next 10 years. So I think the bill is very problematic.
So what does the Inflation Reduction Act do for Maine? Well, there's a lot in the IRA, including efforts to lower prescription drug costs and out-of-pocket costs for Medicare recipients. Secretary, Maine is the oldest state in the country, and for a lot of people, 2025, 2026 is a long way away. What do you say to those folks in the meantime that are still struggling?
Help us get Congress to make it 2023, not 2025 or 2026. Would love to see some of these things come into being a lot sooner. I'd also like it to be supporting more than just Medicare recipients.
As for climate, it promises to make major investments in the state, like through significant tax incentives for homeowners who invest in energy-efficient appliances, upgrading heating equipment, or buy electric vehicles. Maine is a very rural state. What are you doing to make sure that rural communities have the resources they need to make owning an EV practical for everyday folks?
Well, this is one of the things we're working with every state in the union on, using federal dollars to partner with states to make sure every 50 miles or less you can get to a charging station on the highway system.
And while many are still struggling with high prices, Democrats are seeing this as a victory. One they hope won't just win them points come midterm elections, but will also bring about lasting change.
This law is for you and for the millions of people like you, good, decent, hard-working Americans.
As for Maine Independent Senator Angus King, he says the Inflation Reduction Act has bipartisan support all across the country, except here in Washington. At the White House, I'm Zach Blanchard, News CENTER Maine.